what's up guys, it's Dan from One Man's Waste, and it's been a little while since I've done a video. Today I want to talk about recovering e-waste from automobiles. I've found a couple of pretty key places to find scrap, gold, platinum, silver, and other things inside of old automobiles. And I can't speak for scrap yards in your area, but the scrap yards in my area, they don't focus on selling parts, okay? So the salvage yards here, they take the cars, they squish them down, and they sell them just as shreds. So if your yards do that, you may be able to leverage yourself into a situation where they're selling shred for 21 cents a pound, and you may be able to go and take, for example, the deal I've got. They sell theirs, they buy it for about 5 cents a pound. They sell the whole cars shredded for in the 20 cents a pound range. So they let me take almost whatever I want off the car, except for things like the catalytic converter, for, 20 to 30 cents a pound. Well, imagine what I'm gonna show you in this video. It adds up pretty quick. So, there's a few key things. Obviously, there's the catalytic converter. That's the giant honeycomb that's going to be as a part of the exhaust that uses platinum and other metals to catalyze the toxic fumes that are coming out of the exhaust. Everybody knows that one. Well, there's a couple of other things. There's this guy. Okay, we'll get to this in a second. I'm going to go show you on my car since I've got the front bumper off. This is the airbag sensor. Now, if you're standing outside of a scrap car and you take this sensor out, if there's a battery and there's a charge, you run the risk of potentially deploying the airbag. My yard doesn't care because they're going to shred the car. So if there's nobody inside the vehicle and I pull the sensor and the airbag deploys inside, nobody's going to get hurt. And so I have to stress enough, safety is always the utmost important. So do not attempt to take these sensors off the car if somebody's inside the car. That should be common sense, but sadly we live in a world where common sense isn't as common as it should be. So please don't take this sensor off if someone's in there. But that being said, frequently inside of these guys, you'll tear this down and what you'll have is like a metal walled cavity, and inside of that cavity there's going to be a ball bearing. That ball bearing typically will have a very heavy plated gold plate, so you can tear these off the car. They weigh a couple of ounces maybe. Well, if I'm pulling 4 or 5 of these off a bunch of cars and I'm paying 20 or 30 cents a pound, I'm gonna do pretty good on that gold plating. So that's spot one. I'm gonna try to do this in the least amount of chunks of video as I can. The second place that I usually see it, on higher end cars, you can take the stereo. And if you take the stereo out, the logic board in the stereo, sometimes in Cadillacs and some other ones, I've seen the boards in them actually turn out to be fully plated boards. And we know full plate is usually pretty good. And it's not like cheap plate either. It's not that flashing like on TV CRT sideboards. It's actually pretty thick stuff. So that's the third place. The fourth place you want to look. Actually, we'll step back. My bumper's off. Okay, so you should be able to see this guy right here. This is actually, here we go. That's actually the airbag sensor. You're gonna want to, I don't know. I'm pretty bad at this. There we go. So there's one, and then the other one's actually been disconnected. This car was in an accident before I got it. So, and then the other place is up here in the main fuse block. You're gonna see these big things like these. These obviously are not fuses. These are relays. You can pull all of these. Okay. Now the important thing with relays, if you've never done this, relays are basically an electric motor with a contact switch. And when you turn a mechanical switch inside the vehicle, that turns that electric motor on and that creates an electromagnetic field that causes a little contact to move, which turns on a different voltage in a different spot. The contact points are silver. They're probably not sterling silver, but they're silver. And so what happens, let me see if I've got one in this box. They should have one right in front of me. Yeah, okay, so here's our relay, okay? And when it turns on, it's got this, there we go. This is probably the best way I can show you. It's got this little guy right here that moves. And if you see on that copper piece, there's a little tiny silver nugget on the end. So you can cut these apart. Now again, if I'm buying these at 20 to 30 cents a pound, this is an electric motor. You're gonna take the casing, open the casing, take all of your little silver nuggets, cut them off as close as you can to the silver. We'll talk about refining those in a different video at a different time. But then you can literally take this chunk and throw it in a bucket of electric motors. Now that same junkyard, they'll buy these electric motors back from me later on. They'll buy these as electric motors, and they will give me, it varies, but they'll give me 20 to 30 cents a pound for these back, and I've harvested the silver out of them. So on these, I mean, the silver's almost free. I just got to do a little bit of work. So, okay, that's the 4 places on automotive that I've found precious metals. So again, to recap, catalytic converter, the stereo boards, the fuse block for the relays, and there's relays in other places too, so look around your schematic or just get good at what these look like and go pulling them off the cars. Well, don't pull them off, but you know, work a deal with your salvage yards and get these things. And then that 4th place being inside of these. I wish I had one torn apart so that I could show you. But I think I've got one of the ball bearings sitting right here. Let me look. No, I don't. It'll be, this actually came out of a switch, so that's not quite gonna be big enough, but this came out of something different, okay? But this is essentially the same piece, and these are a heavy gold plate. Just a ball bearing that's used, and as it moves, when it moves, it would close that circuit, and that's what sets that off. On an impact, it moves and whatever. That's where they're at. Store those, and we'll talk about refining that stuff in a different video later on. Thanks again for watching, and if you're new, please like and click subscribe down there. I'll see you next time.